My Coworker May Be a Vampire Part 2, a story written by Atrocicus. A link to their original Reddit post will be available in the description down below. The next morning, I dug through my attic until I found a large chest, one that I hadn't seen in 20 years. If there was going to be an old journal describing how my father stopped Kaylin's brother, then it would be in this chest. I blew the half-inch thick layer of dust off the chest, pushing it open. As it creaked open, I saw a thick journal, which looked much older than anything else in the trunk, buried at the bottom. Upon finding the ancient-looking journal, I opened it, and as I did, a gust of wind penetrated the old attic. Finally, after exiting my spooky old attic, I decided to read the first few pages. Most of the beginning ones looked smudged due to the age, but what I could make out was that it was a warning not to read this journal unless an emergency happened. As I flipped through the journal, I noticed multiple unnerving titles and wondered to myself how this town that I had grown up in would have so many secrets. One page said words that nearly made me freeze up and not continue reading. If you have taken it upon yourself to find this journal, I fear the worst, and inside this book, you will find the solution to the problems you are facing. That was followed by an odd handwritten table of contents. Chapter 1, Lycanthropes and Lycanthropy. Section 1, Weaknesses. Section 2, Strengths. Section 3, How to Stop Them. Section 4, Accounts. Chapter 2, The Fae Courts. Unsullied and Sullied. Section 1, Weaknesses. Section 2, Strengths. Section 3, How to Stop Them. Section 4, Accounts. Chapter 3, Cryptozoology and Monsters of the World. Section 1, Weaknesses. Section 2, Strengths. Section 3, How to Stop Them. Section 4, Accounts. Chapter 4, Undead, Vampires, Ghouls, Demons. Section 1, Weaknesses. Section 2, Strengths. Section 3, How to Stop Them. Section 4, Accounts. I immediately turned to the pages listed under the Undead chapter. Vampires, thankfully, had been the first part of this section. Section 1 stated that their weaknesses did include sun and a stake to the heart, but also mentioned that vampires were not weakened by garlic. It did, however, mention a plant that weakened their powers, called hawthorn tree flowers. I had no idea where I would get any hawthorn flowers, but I made a mental note that they could help us. After a few hours of reading and trying my damnedest to memorize the information about vampires, I ended up passing out in my lazy boy recliner. The dreams I had were some of the most terrifying that I had ever had in my life. Yet, they felt prophetic. Finally, nighttime came and I got ready for work. Instead of my normal pre-work, I took an hour before I had to leave to reread the information from the journal and pack up some wooden tent stakes I had in the attic. Tonight felt much darker and colder than the past few nights, and the moon was hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds. Shadows bent around my headlights, and they almost seemed malicious. Anxiety was causing my throat to dry out, and upon walking into our normal meeting spot, I noticed most of the team hadn't shown up yet. I was relieved to see that Callan was standing against a wall close to his normal place, and I eagerly approached him. "Did you bring the stuff we need?" His tone was hushed, as if to hide his words from the rest of the team. "I have everything that we will need to put an end to your psychotic sister, except something called hawthorn flowers that I couldn't find any of." I tossed him the bag I had packed specifically for him, and we awaited the nightly briefing Finally, about half an hour later, the boss came running down the hall looking terrified. "What's the matter, boss?" We had never seen him like this, and I was concerned. There was a monster. It was waiting for me in the parking lot. I got out of my car and saw a beautiful woman sitting on the hospital steps crying. And as I approached, she lunged towards me. Before anyone could gather their thoughts or even say anything, Callan stepped forward. "What did she look like, boss?" "Marvelous black hair, sapphire blue eyes." That was all Callan had to hear. Then he was running down the hall towards the front door. I was confused, but I figured it was his sister outside. I barked a few instructions and then hastily followed him. "Get everyone inside the office and barricade the door. Do not let anything in." I caught up with him at the front door, and he stood looking more afraid than I had imagined he could. "Hey man, are you sure you can do this? If not, I can take care of your sister." "Yes, I have to protect this town from her, or rather, we have to protect this town from her, like our ancestors have done for over 3 centuries. The next few minutes seemed like a millennia, as we checked the gear I had put together and flushed out a plan. I would distract the bloodthirsty monster, and while she was occupied with me, Callan would approach her from behind and thrust the stake through her heart. We pushed the doors open as the frigid night air gave my skin a deathly cold chill. If the plan failed, I would be a big old dinner for one of the most dangerous monsters in the world, but I reassured myself that it was worth it. I clutched my weapon tightly as I walked through the double doors. With every step, my heart thumped faster, like a soldier marching to a bloodthirsty war drum. As I rounded the corner towards the side door, I caught a glimpse of something supernaturally fast pass by me. At that moment, it hit me that if Callan wasn't faster than her, I would be screwed. As I walked forward, trying my hardest to reassure myself that everything would be all right, I remembered one of my dreams. This was the exact scenario, and if everything else went the same way, I would find one of my coworkers' lifeless bodies laying on the ground next to a dumpster. I followed my gut, rounding the side of the building where the dumpster stood. There was Alex, his throat ripped open and a puddle of blood drenching his once white shirt. I was wiping away a tear when a voice spliced through the darkness. You look almost as tasty as the cowardly man I chased into this building." Those were the last words I remember before blacking out. Sometime later, I woke up in a hospital bed, an aching feeling tearing through my back and legs. What had happened? How was I alive? Was it all a dream? No, it couldn't have been. It felt so real. I tried to get up, but I heard footsteps coming down the hall so quickly, I laid back down. "Good morning, my friend. I hope you have rested well." Callan stepped past the curtain, and he looked exhausted. "You have been asleep for 2 days, and I hear that's a lot for a human." I have? What do you mean? I've been asleep for 2 days. What happened to your sister?" "We were on a job, and you ended up passing out at the sight of blood. I had never seen you act that way, and you collapsed from the sight, and now you are here, finally awake." "What about your sister? Did you kill her?" "Calm down, Hunter. You must rest." "Nurse!" A nurse quickly shuffled over, and within minutes I was back in a drug-induced sleep. When I woke up, he was gone, and I still felt agitated. Was everything truly just a fear-induced dream? Upon getting home, I walked into my living room and immediately froze. There, on my coffee table, was a mound of little white flowers. They were accompanied by a simple note, and it gave me chills. To H from C. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. This is why I believe my partner was a vampire. That's all the proof I have that Callan Gallo is not the man we all think he is. And from that day on, I told myself that I would spend my life proving to everyone that we live in a world of the unknown.